We're going to take a look at the archetypes supported by the Void realm in the base set. There's three major archetypes the realm supports. There's a Pyromaniac Burn combo deck, there's a Elemental mid-range deck, and there's a Demon Swarm aggro deck. We'll take a look at a few of the key cards for each, and just talk through some of the play style and the important cards to keep an eye on when deck building and when playing the game. So first we'll take a look at the Pyro Burn combo. So this centers around two cards mainly for the main combo. You have the Pyromaniac, who on death gives you an emblem that every time you play a demon, you do 1 burn damage to your opponent. So there's a couple of important things here. One, these stack. So if you have 2 or 3 killed, then every time you play a demon, you'll do that much damage to the opponent. So say you have 3 that have been killed, your emblem has a 3 count on it. Then every time you summon a demon, you'll do 3 damage directly to the opponent, which is very powerful. And you combo that with the Imp Factory, which allows you to, as many times as you want during your turn, pay 2 to summon a 1/1 Imp, or if it's upgraded, a 3/3 Imp, and do that burn damage to your opponent. Now, the other important thing with the Pyromaniac is the emblem goes away at the end of your turn if you ever end a turn without any demons in play. So there is some strategy that goes into when to play him, when to choose to take damage so that you can set up correctly instead of blocking. There is some thought that goes into that. So then there's a whole bunch of kind of control-esque support tools. So one of the important ones is Mutilate. It is initially a 5-cost spell that deals damage to all creatures equal to your current sanity level. So as the game goes on and your sanity lowers, it becomes less and less effective, but in the early to mid game, it's almost a guaranteed board clear. So it is a very important one if it comes up in your upgrade options. If you roll this for an upgrade, it goes down to 3 cost, which makes it very, very good early to mid game AoE. You also have, let's see, Breath of the Void, which deals 1 damage to all enemy creatures for each demon you control. When upgraded, he deals 2 damage to each, which is very powerful. And then we also have Rip Out the Heart, which lets you destroy a single creature of your choice, and then it goes down to 2 cost if you upgrade it. So that's kind of the control package. And then on top of the burn you get from the Pyromaniac, we also have burn spells. So Ember's Ignite deals 2 damage to the opponent. Demon Fire deals 4. You see each of these get lowered in cost as they get upgraded. And then Beelzebub's Inferno deals 6. And then we have the Amulet of Fire, which is a relic with a 5 or 3 turn countdown, depending on whether or not you've upgraded it. And once that countdown hits 0, it'll deal 4 damage to the opponent. So the game plan behind this deck is all about getting your Pyros killed off early, getting an Imp Factory down so you can constantly flood the board with demons, both to do damage to your opponent and to prevent your Pyro emblems from going away. And then you just use your various control and burn tools to eventually lower the opponent's life total to 0. One other outlier, Beelzebub, starts as a 4-cost 4/4 that does 1 damage to your opponent for each demon you control, which is semi-useful. Could do 5 damage if you have a full board. But if you upgrade him, that damage doubles, and you get the option to do 10 damage to your opponent if you drop him with a full board of demons. So that becomes a really good finisher on top of the other burn that you're running. So that's the kind of the basis of the Pyro Burn combo deck. We'll take a look at the Demon Swarm deck because it's kind of a variant of what we were already looking at. So you're going to run a lot of the same control tools, like your Breath of the Void. You'll probably run your Beelzebubs. You run the Imp Factory for sure, but instead of focusing on burning your opponent down, you're trying to swarm them with a board of inexpensive but powerful demons. So you use things like Imp Factory, especially in its upgraded form, to summon a whole bunch of imps. You can summon some of your lower cost demons like Demonic Lackey or Lesser Fire Demon, and then you use various tools to buff those creatures. So you have Swarm Leader, who will give all of your demons +1/+1, or +2/+2 when he's upgraded. Ignite, which gives all of your creatures +1/+1, or +2/+2. And then Feed the Flames, which gives +2/+2, or +3/+3 on upgrade. So kind of tools you can use in both decks. You can kind of build a hybrid combo strategy between Burn and Swarm, but there's definitely hard directions you can take it one way or the other. Another notable card, Void Guardian. Once he's on the board, every time you summon a demon, your other demons get +1/+1. This pairs really well with Imp Factory. He's comes down more late game in his unupgraded form, and the effect isn't quite as useful at that point. This is one of those cards that you would put in your deck specifically because you are hoping to roll it for one of your upgrades, because if he comes down on turn 3 and you get access to this effect, he really unlocks the Swarm strategy. So another really good card to keep in mind. And then the final archetype that we're supporting with the Void realm is Elementals. So Elementals are built around a couple of really powerful effects. So we have the Earthright, which is going to summon a Granite Golem, which is a 1/1 elemental that actually has the same effect as Tribute to the Elements. And the effect reads, when the creature is destroyed, you basically pass its current stats to another elemental you control. So Tribute to the Element does this, and the Granite Golems summoned by Earthright do this. And then we also have Weight of the Elements, which fills your board with Granite Golems when it's destroyed. So the idea is you want to get a whole bunch of elementals onto the board, all of which, or most of which, when they die, just pass their stats to another one. So even if your opponent starts removing your creatures, your overall power on the board remains. And then you get some effects in that will buff them. Burn Them All being the number one buff for elementals. Whenever you summon an elemental for the first time each turn, it gives your weakest elemental +1/+2. So that's free stats every turn, assuming you summon an elemental. And if it's upgraded, it only costs 1, which is really powerful when it comes down early game, coupled with something like Earthright. We have the same buff cards that we were using with the Swarm strategy that you can use to buff your elementals. And yeah, you're just trying to flood the board, buff them up, and kind of create a wave that your opponent can't fight their way through. And then a couple additional notable cards that also unlock this strategy. Heart of the Flame. Every time, or when you summon it, you gain life equal to the amount of elementals you control, or if it's upgraded, you gain 2 life. So that's kind of a way to get back into the game if you are at a bit of a life deficit in the beginning while you try to establish your board. And then Elusive Elemental is extremely powerful. It comes down as just a 3-attack elemental, but it cannot be blocked. So it's not super impactful initially, but if your opponent can't remove it and you can get some of your other elementals, like Tribute to the Elements, killed off, and those stats start getting passed over to the Elusive Elemental, then all of a sudden he becomes a very large attacker that cannot be blocked and can be really difficult for your opponent to deal with. If you couple that with things like Spell Shield, where you give your creatures anti-arcane, so your opponent can't use effects to destroy them easily, you can create some very, very scary boards. So that's the 3 archetypes we're initially supporting with the Void Realm, and we'll be back tomorrow with another realm.